Everything.
Tell me everything.
Well, thanks for coming on. Tell me everything. How are you doing, Mark?
Doing great. Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday. I know you guys won last week at the Chiefs. You're in KC, right?
Yeah. Yep. We took out the dreaded Ravens. So it was a big win for Kansas City. 37 points, the most points we've scored in 2 years. So everybody's pretty jazzed up here.
Yeah. So maybe this would be when everything gets turned around, you guys are going to Super Bowl, all the good things.
Oh, yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Duh. You guys already know that's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do, all that jazz.
Yep. I'm Mark Groves. I'm the Vice President and Chief Sales Officer at Port TMS. We're a transportation management software company. Give you a little bit of background before I go into about Port. So I've been in the industry for 20 some odd years, software, and I was on the other side of the fence where I had a couple different 3PLs that I owned. So I've used transportation management software throughout my whole career. I've always licensed and resold software as part of my offerings through my businesses. And about 8 years ago, the owner of Port TMS had sold a software company and came back over to Port to kind of make it special. And at that time, I sold my last 3PL and came over to join him to take this software company and take the software from a LTL quoting engine, shipment management software to a full-blown TMS that handles everything from intermodal, drayage, LTL, ocean, air, the whole kit and caboodle. So spent the past 8 years sunsetting architecture, standing up new architecture, new UI, and building out really the next generation of transportation management software, really built for the next generation of people that are coming into our industry. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, the past 20 years.
Yeah. So how did you get in the business? Did you start at, 20 years in the business, you must have been in diapers when you started.
Well, no, I had another business, and my wife's boss, who was running 3PL, was like, dude, you need to come over to this side. You need to get into the freight business. Like, you'll kill it over here. And so that's really how I got into it. Somebody close to us was like, no, you got to do this. So I was like, all right, it sounds, and then it was a lot different. It was really personal, like relationship based, where, you are sitting in front of people trying to earn their business and bring solutions to them. The business is a lot different now than it was back then. And so I just kind of had what it took to earn business and manage business and things of that nature. So that's how I ended up in the supply chain space to start off with. But it was interesting when I entered it, there was a software application that was proprietary that I was also offering to 3PLs and to my customers directly. So I kind of interwove services and software at the same time from the jump. So kind of watched the transformation of transportation management software over the past 20 years. And for us, anyways, really been able to try to direct the way that it helps not only the end customer, but the user of the software as well be as efficient as possible.
Have you always been like a really techie guy? Like you're the one that has all the...
I always tell people, yes, I did. I do have a background in it. I never studied it in school. I did, but in high school, and then moved on from it. So the thing that's really great about software is you don't really need to have a formal education to be in the software business. If you can read a book, and then you can be in the software space. There's a number of people that I've been had experience with over the number of years that didn't go to school to be software developers. They went to school for something else, and they kind of fell into it, and they just self-taught themselves. Probably the best database developer I've ever been around, who's been at it for 30 plus years, no formal education in it. He just taught himself.
That's how with Mike Airport, Paul Johnson. I'm sure you've met him before, but he's like that too. He just built. I mean, he just learned all on his own. And I know like Annalise from Chain. Do you know the Chain people? Annalise at Farm. They both
Maybe.
were. Yeah, they both were just like, yeah, we just decided we want to learn how to code and develop it and do
Right.
this and what. Like it's funny because I love doing the software stuff as far as like coming up with like innovative ideas and like being
Mhm.
on the ground and like, oh, I think this would help this or that would help that, but I could never like create it. You know what I mean? So are
It's
you on
called,
that
yeah,
end?
you like to design. That's where I always
Like,
get in trouble. Is people are always like, "You're a software developer." I was like, "No, I'll design what I
yeah,
think we should do, and then work with the people that can actually implement it," which
right.
is
Yeah.
fun.
Which is
Um,
always, that's so fun to just kind of see what you have in your head come to life. I'm
right.
sure you like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's kind of something we do around here on a regular basis.
Yeah.
N-
So did Port TMS come from a logistics company? I know most of the TMSs had like,
No, it actually started as a software company. Believe it
really?
or not,
Okay.
25 years ago. Um, it was 25 years ago. There was a an executive at YRC who had this idea to offer people the ability to quote on this new thing called the internet, an LTL shipment. And it was here in Overland Park, Kansas, and he came to two software guys. One of them started FreightQuote, and then the other one started our company. So we were one of the first companies where you go online and get an LTL quote. Back then, it was quite a bit different, where you were querying tables to get rates based off of your tariffs. You display it in the UI. Somebody say, I got a pallet, 400 pounds, Kansas City to St. Louis. The system would go hit a table, display a rate, and they'd click book. And then somebody behind the scenes would go to the YRC website, book the shipment, get a pro number, and then do everything kind of manually on the back end. And then over the years, it's just progressed into everything is now API driven.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how tech has evolved, but I think what's cool about you guys is you guys have stayed in it, where a lot of tech that it has came from like a long time ago. They just kind of, well, this works and we have customers, we're good to go. But
Right.
being innovative, which kind of led me to, we talked the other day just about integration stuff, and you were telling me kind of all the coolest and newest things you guys are coming up with. And I know you just mentioned like you're kind of trying to keep up with the new generation and like how
Yeah.
you're thinking. So I guess where's your thoughts on that? How this whole idea come up? What are you guys up to? All that.
Sure. Well, like for us, we're always thinking about what's next. What's the next generation of people that are coming in the industry? How do they work? How are they used to it? How do they interact with software? Not, it's app based driven. It's very little. It's being able to have information at their fingertips very easily with a nice UI where, you can look at some of the legacy systems that are out there. They're still, got gray screens and not very pretty to interact with. So we're always thinking, what can we do to put somebody in front of our software that will make their life easier and enjoyable inside of our software. So we take the UI experience to like a full new level where, like with our software, it really is app-based driven where each individual user can have their own experience inside of the software. So if I'm, say, a dispatcher or a guy doing operations, my layout of my UI for my system could be completely different than the guys that are just selling, booking loads. The C-suite guys are going to have a totally different app installed on their software application. So it really is about user friendliness and giving people a really easy work experience. And whether that's from inside on their desktop or on their laptop or on their phone. So that's really what drives us around here is how do people want to experience their workday? Do they want to log into something that's already set up for what they're doing, or do they want to go look around for stuff? We kind of eliminate that look around stuff and just present people the information that's omnipresent for what they're doing throughout the day.
So as you guys are doing all this and building this, are you talking to, I guess, like the newer generation of freight techs or
Yep.
freight brokers? Because I think that it's totally different. Like you and me fell into being a broker and it was like, like, hey, you would be good at this. Come on. And then
All
now,
right.
now they're like going to school for it. I'm like, how is there even degrees for this? Or I think most of us have, like you said, fell into it. So it's a whole different mindset, I think, now that how they're handling it versus the kind of OG way.
Well, what we do is we work really closely with our customers, and a lot of our customers do bring people off the streets or right out of school that don't have any experience in the industry, but they're not afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody and ask them if they have any freight they can quote. So that's a different experience for people. And how do you take them from no freight experience to working in the industry quickly and easily? It's by, putting information in front of them that's omnipresent and that they can act upon. So we work really closely with our customers, and it can be anything from, what's the best way to create an intermodal shipment if you're getting a EDI 204 load tender into the system? What's that experience like? Which is completely different from somebody that may just be quoting, sending out quotes to the customer and booking freight. So we're fortunate where we have a lot of different use cases because we have people that are doing so many different types of freight management. And so we work really closely with them. And it's not uncommon for, me to have a meeting a week with a customer that says, hey, we are been doing it like this for 2 years. We think that we can improve our return on our investment of our employees if we can eliminate a couple steps. We've got a really sophisticated customer that their analytics department takes every single thing out of the system once a week, and they'll actually drill down to how much time an employee spends when a shipment is created via EDI to when they interact with the carrier. They send out documentation as they work through the life cycle of the shipment. They have it down to, okay, it's an hour per shipment. We're paying this guy $50 an hour. We got to take that and they'll take that number and come up with a final number of expense per shipment, whether it's their tech stack that they're running, how much does that cost them per shipment, per minute, per hour, plus the labor in it. So what we try to do is get that number as small as possible for our customers and give them the ability to report on it. So you can go back and say, okay, if we can eliminate these 4 steps, it's going to save us $25 per shipment. If you guys can you automate this for us so we can, get our cost per shipment down? And it's not just a cost per shipment for the software, it's the cost of labor as they're moving a transaction through its life cycle. So it's really interesting for us to see how much we really have eliminated labor cost. And I don't care if it's LTL, if it's intermodal, or if it's full truckload. Like, we will constantly build automations for our customers to eliminate steps, eliminate labor hours, and improve profitability, or at least stay competitive, in the current climate. What we find, Danielle, is especially with our customers that kind of work in the Chicago model where they've got pods, right? They've got 3 sales guys, 4 sales guys, they got a coverage and ops guy, and then there's an accounting person behind that pod as well. What steps can we eliminate that will reduce the cost? Maybe, they've got 6 salespeople in the pod, in 1 dispatcher and 1 ops guy. Instead of when they add the 6th and the 5th, they have to go get another ops and another coverage guys, just because of the way that they run their business and the labor involved with, covering an extra 200 shipments a week for these new salespeople. So we look at that stuff all the time, and that's what we've been building is tools to eliminate overhead, quite frankly, and using AI and our tech stack to do that.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because there's so many new brokers coming into space, even now with a tough market, which is, I think,
Right.
is very interesting with this, because I think now they can develop a whole new brokerage with maybe like a couple customers, but because of all the different automations, they're not having to put so much headcount on, so they're able to keep costs low, they're able to be efficient, and then the great service. But I think it's very rare that you have customers that will reach out to you and say, like, hey, we're thinking innovatively like this, where a lot of people get stuck in like, hey, this is what we've always done. we're not changing anything. We're not throwing a wrench in things. Like this is working. So it's rare that you have customers like that. And I think it's rare that even like you yourself are think that way. You know what I mean? Like it takes a very creative mind. Have you always been like creative in that sense too? And
I think so. I
yeah.
think so. I'm always looking for the advantage. And I would, to piggyback on that, if I was starting a 3PL or a brokerage today with what's available in the marketplace, it would be done very differently. It would be everything is automated, and work with some really slick partners that, maybe you could basically, if you could identify like areas of coverage from companies like Convoy that are, you just post the load and they cover it, the tracking kicks off, they pay the carrier, it's done. You could run a really efficient 3PL using, I think DAT may have a product like that. There's some other ones out there that have these automations where your carriers are secured. The tracking starts, the documents come in, a third party pays them, and all you're doing is invoicing your customer. So there's stuff like that that's out there today that wasn't around when we were doing it. You know what I mean? You didn't even have the option for it. It was, you post it, you take 1 million phone calls, and you try to make as much money as possible. I think those days really are gone. And if people aren't embracing the technology that's available, I think that they'll find that they'll get moved out of the market by people that are innovative and having technology take a lot of steps out of the way that they used to. I couldn't imagine not having some really slick tools if I was running a 3PL today, of having to answer the phone, for instance. And when you post a great, the joke is always Los Angeles to Chicago, everybody wants that lane. So you're going to get 500 carriers calling you in 2 minutes. There still are organizations out there that are, trying to field those calls, or they're missing those calls. I would not want to be in that position if I was in the trenches, as we like to say.
Right. And I think there's a balance between that and then also not getting into tech debt, because I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't really think about. Like you sign up for a tech and you want all this automation, but then you're also like, maybe it's where you are a little bit too new, or you don't have enough business to pay for that. You're not bringing in the profit that you should be. But it's almost like having that balancing teeter-tottering act of, once I hit this level, then I should implement this and automate this level, then I do that. So I think that's something that I don't think is taught enough. I don't know if you feel the same way, but like whenever I go to all these conferences and I talk to people, that part of it is not taught, where it's like, hey, I know there's all these flashy, amazing things, and you do need some automation. You do need tech immediately that will automate things, but you also can't get too nose deep into everything. I think,
Right.
personally. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree that there is no playbook for it. And we see it quite a bit because, you talk about there's more people are coming in the industry every single day. If you can go on the old Carrier 401 and see all the new broker authorities that have been granted. And it's crazy. It has never slowed down. I mean, people are getting their authority. They're going to go for it. And I think it's because that's the beauty of the industry, is anybody can do it. And if you work really hard and you're honest, you can have a good career and be successful in it. The ingredients aren't that many. It's hard work, be honest, and, be prepared to not take a day off for a while. You can get there.
Yeah. No vacation time, no sleep. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody, the last really successful 3PL that I ran, 7 years I didn't take a day off. It was weekends, and national holidays. Every vacation you're working, your wife and kids could be out having a great time and you're stuck in the hotel room trying to cover a load or find a driver. Where's that driver at? Where are you at? When are you going to deliver?
And you guys building those like apps, stuff like that, like where you can do things on your phone. Like I think you get that part of it. Like you don't take a day off, but because I am on the road and I am in my kids' soccer game, I don't want to miss my quality of life because I have a tech that can be there with me while I'm. Because I think 2020 helped everybody with that work-life balance. And a lot of us, like myself included, I was missing games. I was missing this, and I wasn't being a part of this. My head wasn't in this. But I think now I can be fully remote. I can work from the ball stand, the ball field. And today, that's what I'm going to be doing after my daughter's softball game is I'm going to be working. So that's cool that your guys' tech is keeping up with that because I don't think there's many that do.
Yes, and we wanted to talk about AI, so it's probably a good way to segue into it. For us, I'll just tell you how we got here. Like I was always annoyed in the previous years where people would be like, "Hey, we got AI." I'm like, "No, you don't have AI. You're querying tables. Okay, that's not true AI." But
Yeah, it's automation.
24 months ago, when GPT hit the scene, ChatGPT, really hit the scene, I was like, okay, we have got to. We're in a position with my team, since my developers are all here, in the management sphere. I was like, okay, we have got a great opportunity with our development capabilities to be the front runner in this. The way that we built our database, we can build on top of it. And so I was like really pushing hard. I was actually talking to third parties that we could work with to implement things. And my developers are dragging their feet. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? This is like, these guys are already using the AI in the education space. Let's partner up with them. Let's do this. Let's do that. No, we'll look at it. We'll look at it. Well, I know it dawned on me last year, in the end of last year, when we put our first native AI into our database, they dragged their feet because all really good software developers, they want to do it too. They don't want to be left behind. They don't want to work with a third party that's going to be doing something that they know they can do. They just need the time to do it. So as we started to implement our own, the first of the year, we started to put stuff into beta, and it really was, again, customer driven. As we're talking to our customers, they're like, we're missing a lot of phone calls because we've got a lot of freight now, and we're scaling, but we're not scaling at the level, whether it's can't find good enough people, the right people for the position, where, they're looking at their phone tree and they're missing 3,000 or 4,000 calls a week. And so we're like, well, that's a great one to start with. So let's build a dispatch AI agent. And so that was the first one that we deployed. And I was just running the numbers. It will, you put a phone number in your phone tree. If you miss the phone call, right? If it's after hours, if it's the weekends, if you're getting blown up and guys can't grab the phones, this guy answers it and he'll talk to the driver and say, hey, what load are you calling on? And it will go into the system. It'll give them the load details. It'll tell them when it picks up, what it is, when it delivers, how much it pays, and do you want to put an offer in on? So what we found is, like, this month, just in September, is not finished yet. It answered 6,000 phone calls in like the first 24 days. It out of that 6,000 phone calls, 344 of them converted into covered loads and resulted in like $750,000 in revenue. And this is just for one customer. And so we're talking to the guys about it Friday. They're like, what it's really helping with is carriers are calling in, this thing is, AI it's probably better than a human when it comes to, interpreting people with thick accents, or maybe English isn't their native language. This thing can understand it better than I can, the person you're talking to. But what it's really doing is it's weeding out those carriers and those drivers and those dispatchers that are calling in that it's not going to be a good fit. And so, you take out of that, you take, maybe some of it's cost, whatever it is, but if you can eliminate 50% of the calls that you receive because it's not going to be a good fit, they don't like the price, they don't like the time pickup times, then that's one less conversation that your dispatcher has to have with somebody. But if you want to see it, it's all, and the thing that's cool is we log all that. We've got all the measurables on it. So it's really been a big home run. Like I haven't put, a number to like the labor cost of that 6,000 phone calls that this thing answered. But I will get there, as I gather more data. So that's really been, so you can imagine if you're, a new broker and you've got a AI dispatch agent, instead of having to hire somebody, like this is your buddy over here that's answering the phone for you. If you're on the phone and you just get a notification, look in the system, you can listen to the call. You can read the transcripts and it will display all the carrier's information. So, if you have them onboarded. So like if you get 2 offers in on one load, one guy you already have onboarded, and the other guy you don't, and it's at the same price, you just call the guy that you already have on board that maybe he's done freight for you, as well. So that's just, just now we've had that in production for about 4 months, maybe going on 5 months now. And it's really been a home run for our customers that are using it. It really has.
So is it directly in the UI of your TMS? So it's all living at one spot? That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's at the load
TV.
level. Yeah, it's really cool. So for us, what we've done of like with the automations and stuff is, we built these private load boards for our customers about 2 years ago, maybe we pushed them out there. So you can invite your favorite carriers. Relationships are still important, probably more important than anything. You've got carriers that have ran lanes for you consistently over the years. They can come in, they get in bid on the freight, they get a notification. So you can actually have multiple bids inside of our system now that come in from automations, whether it's from a private load board or from the dispatch AI agent, or somebody talking to somebody saying, hey, I got to put an offer in for the sales guy in the other room saying, hey, this carrier put in an offer. It's a little higher than you want. What do you want me to do? And that's another piece of the automation where you don't have to email, text message, or call somebody. It's just put in the offer, notify the guy. If he wants it, he clicks a button and coverage can take it. So those types of automations are super important.
And I think that's the balance between having a relationship with a carrier and spot bidding or spot, posting. Because I think there is a balance. Like I was a carrier sales rep for 8 years. So like I will go pay a little bit extra to somebody I know, even I'll take a little bit of a hit because I know this guy. I know if I'm in a bind, he'll hook me up. Like it's a give and take. So like kind of like you said, being able to see everything at one spot and being able to keep a relationship, but then also at the same time, being able to tell that carrier, like, hey, you're quoting me $200 more than what I have another offer for. I want this relationship with you, but this is what offer I realistically have in hand. Can you come down? And being able to confidently say that with, like you said, an offer in hand is huge. Like you can't, I don't know. I think a lot of times that relationship part, sometimes people are scared of the relationship because sometimes you overpay and carriers kind of take advantage sometimes. Both ways, the carriers or brokers take advantage, but that's like a way to kind of keep your balance on both ends. Interesting. Very
it is, and like you said, it's a teeter-totter, right? Yeah, for sure. So then there's the I'll just tell you that we've got 3 in production. So it's that one. The other one we do. So we came to market as an LTL platform. So we still have. I think, 5,000, 7,000 LTL shipments run through the system a day. What we found from another customer was a lot of times, so this is all API driven. Somebody would come in the morning, a shipment was supposed to pick up, an LTL shipment was supposed to pick up. There's supposed to be a pro number in the system. The APIs run and bring the pro number in. So they'd have a bucket of 40 or 50 LTL shipments that historically a lot of people were paying people overseas to call the carriers and find out what happened. Or you got an employee that, that's what their job is to do, they call it track and trace. But if there's no tracking and tracing hasn't started via the APIs, why? So we built we call it the pro number retrieval agent. May change the name. I don't think it's that sexy, but we may have to come up with a name for this agent. But what it will do is you can take those 50 shipments and throw them into a queue, and the AI agent will call the carriers and ask them for the information that you're looking for LTL shipments. And it's pretty amazing, as I listen to some of the recordings, do you have a pro number for this shipment? And yeah, here it is. Okay, great. They'll take it. They'll update the system. You move on. But the one I was listening to the other day, I don't know if I told you this when I was talking to you last week, but it will then say, okay, I've got 4 more shipments here that, you picked up for us, FedEx. Can you tell me what the pro number is on those? And it's the guy that said, yeah, sure. He gives them, the bill of lading number. He's like, oh, that one didn't pick up today because the freight wasn't ready. And so it will log that information in the system for the user as well. Another one was, we didn't pick it up today. We missed it. We rolled it over today. And that thing went through and talked to one carrier, spent 3 minutes and 46 seconds and updated 6 shipments, which would have traditionally been done by a human. And so that automation has been super successful. It's amazing listening to these AI agents talk to humans. Like, I think the guy knew that he was talking to an AI agent. I really couldn't tell because he was communicating with it so well. Maybe he's just getting used to it. And then now, they'll talk to other AI agents as well, and update the system. So again, it's about man hours. What can we build with AI to eliminate a human touching it that works well and it's easy to use. And then the third one is kind of just a low hanging fruit one that will probably continue to enhance it. But it's the factoring agent, AI agent. So the back office can, have a phone number, factoring companies can call and they'll confirm the rate. So they'll think they're talking to somebody. A lot of factoring companies want to know what the pay terms on it. We haven't implemented that into it yet. So maybe that's something that's going to come along. But, we have, our customers that are using that, they don't answer the phone anymore when factoring companies are calling, and they just talk to the AI agent. So, we'll probably tweak that one a little bit because there are some additional information that we've discovered as we build these things by working with our customers that, hey, a lot of times the factoring company will want to know when it was paid, or when's it scheduled to be paid. So that's the type of stuff that we're working on. So we're looking at, operations and LTL, operations and truckload, and efficiencies for the back office. So, we're always thinking again about what's next. So then the one that we have in beta is a really cool one. It's the AI assistant, which is you just push a button and you talk to it like Siri. And it can be the accounting team saying, hey, how many payments do I need to make today? How much money was received? It can be the person that's sitting in the stands at the softball game saying, hey, can you build a load for ABC Warehouse from Kansas City to St. Louis, and then find a carrier for it? And it will do that for you. So we deployed it to the mobile app, and it's inside of the database as well. If you're working off a desktop, now we're training that thing to do a lot of stuff. Well, we talked about one use case for it today is, maybe the sales guy comes in the morning, he wants to know, show me all my shipments that are at risk of being late for pickup today. And it will query the database. It will look at the pickup times. It will look at where the driver is, and it will give you a list. And then from there, you'll be able, okay, text the driver and then notify the customer. And just speaking to it to do that. So that's a really fun one. I mean, that thing it's really cool. And now we're actually, we put it out, let it marinate. Now we're really starting to train it, and we'll use again, we'll use our customers' influence to say, okay, how would you like to use it? What would you like it to do? Whether you're working from your desktop or your phone.
Well, and I think like even like with ChatGPT, you kind of train it to know you. Like
Right.
ChatGPT, like I know as soon as I open up and I have like the one category, I can just simply paste. Because, for instance, with my podcast, I have to copy the transcript, turn it into a description,
Right.
make titles, give me options. I need a design. I need to do that. But now I can just copy and paste the transcript and it already knows everything I need to do. I don't have to tell it anything. So
That's
eventually it'll
awesome.
be almost the same thing with that. I mean, it's crazy how the AI stuff can, just learn from you. And I think that having it as like an assistant, because I'm big on like, I don't want it to replace jobs, but I do want it to where like the mundane task of like this boringness. I think it helps with like retention of your reps and your employees because they're not having to do the boring stuff that like, who wants to work for a job where you're like, oh my God, I do the same thing every single day. I hate what I do. This is awful. I want to do something creative. I want to do like, how many times have we heard that throughout our lives? And I think having an AI assistant like that takes that away from it and makes it where it's like, oh, I get to do the fun stuff of my job all day. I don't have to do the boring stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the quote, I think we're like, as we're feeding this thing with a lot of data, what we found is that AI assistant because all of our customers and their employees have multiple screens on their desk, right? You're doing multiple things. So if you're, working on something on one screen, but you need to quote your customer, you can just click over the AI assistant and say, hey, give me an LTL quote from Chicago to Los Angeles for 2 pallets at class 70. And it will go get it. It will say, hey, what customer is it? It's ABC Warehouse. Okay, here's the quote. You want the lowest quote? Yep. And will you copy it to a clipboard or will you email it to them for me as well while you continue to do what else you do? So I feel like that voice automation is going to be really beneficial because everybody that I'm around has got multiple screens open. And if you, instead of typing into a rating engine, Kansas City or Chicago to Los Angeles to get a quote, if you can just speak to it and then quickly let your customer know what the price is on it. Or, you get a message from the customer, hey, why didn't that shipment pick up? Click the button. Hey, what's the details? Why didn't that thing pick up? And it will give it to you. And then text it to you, email it to you, or copy it to a clipboard.
So does it have email plugins then, or how is it working with the email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It will email it to the contact for that particular customer.
That's so cool. That's like next level. And I don't think anybody, so I was just at the McLeod conference and there was tons of AI there, of course, like on every different level, but there's not really anybody that's embedding it in their TMS like that. I almost think you're like the forefronters on that. I know there's been a lot of automation, but actual AI, because there's a big difference between automation and AI. And I think people were saying they had AI and it didn't. And then now that's kind of been exposed. And now, they're having to change the way that they advertise and stuff.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting for us, like I know I hadn't been to any of the shows recently, but I forget who it was I was talking to. Maybe it was Matt Silver. He's like, man, at the last show we were at, there was 1,000 new guys with TMS apps, and they've got like the base for it, but they don't understand. Like there's a lot of people that are coming into this space that have never done what you and I have done. And so it makes a big difference if you've never had to call your customer and say, I don't know where that truck is. You know what I mean? Or you don't know that a reefer truck is supposed to be refrigerated at a certain degree, things of that nature. Do I need to post it with tarps, without tarps? So that's kind of what we bring. And if you're using like some of these bolt-on AI things, they're coming from someplace else and looking into your system and then bringing the information back out, which takes time. And there's errors involved with us, with it built on top. We'll tell you if there's an issue or an error. We'll just pop it right up from you and say, hey, something didn't connect. Try it again. And that can be a number of things.
Even cybersecurity wise, like your data, like whenever I was a broker, my owner of my company was so strict about us talking ever to anybody about any of our lanes, any of our customers. Like that was our data. do not put that out there. Like, even like the rating systems that are out there, there is no way they will ever sign up for that, because that's like, this is our data. I don't want this getting out. And I do think that nowadays, a lot of people, it's great in a lot of ways because we're all talking to each other, we're all communicating, kind of making everything better. But on the other hand, I think there's a lot of stuff that's, you're not getting that competitive edge anymore because you're just giving your stuff out to who knows who. You know, I think having everything live in your TMS is cybersecurity wise, like, my stuff's safe and it's in one spot. It's not floating here and there. And that makes a difference too.
Well, I think it was the CTO of Worldwide Express. I was at the SMC3 conference last summer, not this past summer. And, they own Global Trans, a huge company. And he was like, listen, I stay awake every single night worrying about this stuff. He was like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. They're going to get something from you. There's going to be some, and it's getting more and more sophisticated. I was getting emails last week, and it looked like people were inviting me to meetings. And it looked legitimate, like, hey, RSVP for this meeting that you scheduled with us last week to meet about, whatever it is. I'm like, this is crazy. The amount of sophistication behind these bad actors is real. So again, that is our goal, is to keep everybody in this. There's applications that people are going to need to use outside of our system, but keep them in as much as possible will really lower those labor costs and produce some true efficiency so people can stay competitive.
Yeah. Well, and not having that tech debt, right? Like, you're with one provider, you're not having to pay out here, pay out there, and all that stuff. I mean, to me, I don't know what pricing is with you or whatever, but to me, it all adds up, paying different vendors. And
we've always taken that approach since we were, software developers, is, well, let's build it ourselves. Let's do it in-house. Don't outsource it. Because we historically, if you're outsourcing, even if it's development inside of your own database, that outsourced resource may not be there a year from now. And then what did he build, and who's going to manage it and do the maintenance on it now? So it's super important to try to do as much as possible yourself as you can, and then find good partners to work with too. We're always really excited to work with real good partners.
So tell everybody kind of where you guys are going to be at, what's how to contact you, kind of all that
Well,
jazz.
I'll be in my office in Overland Park, Kansas, I think, for the foreseeable future. We're thinking about going to our broker carrier summit, but I'm not sure if we're going to make it down there. I've got really good friends at the LTNA. If nobody's heard from it, Google it. It's the old transportation clubs that has been reconstituted by Brad Reinhardt, a really fun organization of people that are in the trenches. There'll be Fortune 500 companies there. It's probably one of the best events you can go to, because it's literally based around networking in bars and restaurants with this big group of fun people. It's a blast.
Where is that at? When and where?
It's in Phoenix in November, I think. I just talked to Brad.
Oh my God. I'm going to Phoenix, but for the TIA Technovation, so maybe I need to stay longer and go to this too.
I'm not sure if we're going to come out there for that, because we've just been keeping our heads down and working. But anybody can get me on LinkedIn. The website's pretty easy, porttms.com. If you've got a good partner that you're working with, ask them about me. They'll tell you. It's funny. I was talking to somebody just earlier this morning, and he's like, you own the, I don't know, Technovations or something. I was like, no. And he rattled off like 10 different events that they're going to. I was like, when do you guys work? I've
been going to so many events. I'm like, oh my, like, right, this whole, like, I'm working till like midnight almost, trying to get caught up because of events. It's a lot. But it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. So no, we'll be around, that's for sure. We'll pick and choose. Usually we show up and it's to hang out with people like you, buy drinks, tell jokes, and deal cards.
Yeah, I love that. Well, hopefully I'm coming out. You guys do a really good networking event up there in Kansas. So hopefully next time I run that, come fly up for that. Because I majority of my customers are in Kansas, which is funny. I don't know how that happened, but they're like all there in that hub.
Yeah, Mark Lukenbill's, he runs the Transportation Association of Kansas City. I think that's how it's pronounced. But he's part of the LTNA. That's like one of the LTNA sub-organizations.
Gotcha.
That is a fun one.
Yeah, they're just such great people up there. And so, what's your favorite barbecue in Kansas City? Because I have my favorite, but I'm wondering if it's the same.
My favorite barbecue restaurant for all different types of dishes is Q39.
Okay, I have been there. That is good. I like Jack Stack, or is that right? Jack Stack. Jack Stack.
Yeah, Jack Stack is fantastic.
Oh man, their ribs are just out of this world.
I know, but yeah, they're Q39 is right down the street from my office. And I usually take people there that come in from out of town because they'll get full on the appetizers that I order, and then they can take it with them on the airplane when they leave.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they're bringing it home and sharing the love. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
For sure.
Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was fantastic. Congratulations. This is great.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been a fun little adventure for me. So thank you guys.
Tell me everything. Tell me everything.